Rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Manhattan penthouse. Nathaniel Hayes stood in his mahogany office, the city lights bleeding through the storm below him. His Italian leather shoes clicked against marble as he paced, jaw clenched, the lawyer's words still burning in his skull. 30 days to marry or lose everything. At 34, he had built an empire. Wall Street feared him. Boardrooms bent to his will, but his grandfather's final manipulation had cornered him like a wounded animal with nowhere left to run. 3 floors below, Carmen Silva's hands trembled as she scrubbed bathroom tiles. Her phone pressed against her ear, the hospital billing department delivering their ultimatum with clinical coldness. "Please," Carmen whispered, her voice fracturing. "She's just a little girl." "I'm sorry, Mrs. Silva. Without payment arrangements, we'll have to postpone the procedure." The phone slipped from her fingers and clattered against wet tile. Her 8-year-old daughter, Sophia, needed heart surgery that cost more than Carmen would earn in 5 lifetimes. The surgery had to happen within the week, or there might not be another chance. In the hallway outside, a shadow moved closer. Nathaniel had heard every word. The next morning, Carmen's red-rimmed eyes betrayed her sleepless night. She had researched every charity, every loan option, every desperate possibility. Nothing would save Sophia in time. "Carmen." His voice cut through the silence like a blade. She jumped, startled. In 2 years of cleaning his penthouse, he had never spoken her name. "Yes, Mr. Hayes." "My office. Now." The mahogany-paneled room felt like a cathedral of power. Awards gleamed from every wall. Carmen stood frozen in the doorway, her cleaning apron twisted between nervous fingers. "About your daughter's condition," Nathaniel said without preamble. Heat flooded Carmen's cheeks. "Sir, I promise my personal problems won't affect my work. I can't afford to lose this job." "How much do you need?" The question hung in the air like smoke. "Excuse me?" "The surgery, recovery, everything." "Total amount." Carmen stared at him, confusion clouding her dark eyes. "I don't understand why you're asking." Nathaniel moved closer, his presence overwhelming. "Because I have a proposition that could save us both." He explained his inheritance crisis, watching her face transform from confusion to shock to disbelief. When he finished, only the antique clock's ticking filled the silence. "You want me to marry you?" Carmen's voice was barely a whisper. 6 months. Purely business. 300,000 up front for Sophia's surgery. Another 200 when it ends. Carmen sank into the leather chair, her world tilting off its axis. This man, who barely acknowledged her existence, was offering to solve her nightmare with pocket change. What would this marriage involve? Nathaniel pulled out a thick contract, his eyes cold as winter steel. "You'll live here. Attend events as my wife. Play the part convincingly. And if I refuse?" His jaw tightened. "Then we both lose everything that matters." Carmen's hand shook as she stared at the contract. Somewhere in a hospital bed, Sophia was waiting for her mother to find a miracle. "I need 24 hours to decide." "You have until midnight," Nathaniel said, his voice cutting through her like ice. "After that, the offer expires." As Carmen left his office, neither of them noticed the security camera's red light blinking in the corner, recording everything. Carmen stood outside Sophia's hospital room at 11:45 that night, watching her daughter sleep through the glass window. Monitors beeped steadily, tracking the 8-year-old's weakening heart. Her phone buzzed. A text from Nathaniel. 15 minutes. Carmen closed her eyes, feeling the weight of an impossible choice crushing her chest. She thought of Sophia's laughter, now rare and precious. She thought of her own parents who had sacrificed everything to give her a better life in America. She thought of the man upstairs who could solve everything with a signature. At 11:59, Carmen walked into Nathaniel's penthouse and signed the contract without reading it. "For Sophia," she whispered. Nathaniel's expression remained unreadable. "The wedding is in 3 days. I've already made arrangements." Carmen nodded, numb. Then Nathaniel did something unexpected. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Dr. Morrison?" "Nathaniel Hayes. I need you to schedule an emergency pediatric cardiac surgery. Tomorrow morning." "Money is no object." Carmen's knees buckled. Nathaniel caught her arm, steadying her. Why? She asked, tears streaming down her face. We're not even married yet. Nathaniel released her arm, his expression hardening. Because I keep my word, even in business. But as Carmen left to return to the hospital, she didn't see the way Nathaniel's hands trembled, or the way he poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey and stared at the contract on his desk until dawn. And neither of them knew that someone else had been watching. Someone who would do anything to destroy Nathaniel Hayes. Sophia's surgery was a success. Carmen spent 3 days at her daughter's bedside, watching color return to the little girl's cheeks, listening to her heartbeat grow stronger. Nathaniel sent flowers but never visited. The distance felt like relief. On the morning of the wedding, a stylist arrived at Carmen's modest apartment with garment bags and makeup cases. The courthouse ceremony would be small, Nathaniel had said. Witnesses only, no spectacle. Carmen stared at herself in the mirror, wearing a cream silk dress that cost more than her monthly rent. She looked like someone else. Someone who belonged in Nathaniel's world. Mom, you look like a princess, Sophia said from her hospital bed, video calling on the tablet Nathaniel had sent. I'll be back soon. Mi amor, Carmen whispered, her throat tight. The courthouse was sterile and cold. Nathaniel stood beside her in a charcoal suit, his expression carved from stone. When the judge asked if they took each other as husband and wife, Carmen's "I do" sounded like a confession. Nathaniel's was barely audible. He slipped a platinum ring on her finger without meeting her eyes. It was heavy, expensive, empty. We have a charity gala tonight, Nathaniel said as they left. My business partner will be there. We need to look convincing. Carmen nodded, exhaustion settling into her bones. That evening, the ballroom glittered with Manhattan's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across marble floors. Carmen felt like an imposter in her emerald gown, another expensive costume Nathaniel had provided. Smile, Nathaniel murmured, his hand at the small of her back. They're watching. Carmen forced her lips to curve. Across the room, a woman stared at them with predatory interest. She was stunning, tall and blonde, draped in diamonds. Who is that? Carmen asked. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Victoria, my ex-fiancée. The woman glided toward them like a shark scenting blood. Nathaniel, Victoria purred. I heard about your sudden marriage. How romantic. Victoria. His voice was ice. Victoria's gaze slid to Carmen, assessing and dismissing her in one look. And you must be the new Mrs. Hayes. Tell me, how did you two meet? Carmen felt Nathaniel's fingers tighten against her back. We've known each other for years, she said carefully. How lovely. Victoria's smile was sharp. I'm sure you'll be very happy, for however long it lasts. After Victoria left, Nathaniel drained his champagne in one swallow. Don't engage with her. She's poison. Was she why you needed to marry so quickly? Carmen asked. Nathaniel's expression shuddered. That's not part of our contract. The words stung more than Carmen expected. She turned away, but Nathaniel caught her wrist. We need to dance, he said. Everyone's watching. On the dance floor, Nathaniel's arms came around her with practiced elegance. Carmen could smell his cologne, feel the heat of his body through expensive fabric. This close, she could see the exhaustion etched around his eyes. Why did you really help Sophia before the wedding? Carmen asked softly. You didn't have to. Nathaniel was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. My sister died when I was 17, he finally said, his voice raw. Leukemia. My father was too proud to ask for help until it was too late. I swore I'd never let money be the reason someone lost everything. Carmen's breath caught. For the first time, she saw past the cold billionaire to the broken boy beneath. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. Just play your part. But his arms tightened around her, and for a moment, Carmen felt something shift between them, something dangerous. Later that night, Carmen found Nathaniel in his study, staring at his laptop screen. His expression was haunted. What's wrong? She asked. Nathaniel looked up, and something in his eyes made Carmen's stomach drop. Someone leaked our contract to the press, he said. Every detail. The money, the timeline, everything. Carmen's world tilted. What does that mean? It means my board of directors thinks I committed fraud. It means the inheritance is being challenged. It means we're both destroyed unless we can prove this marriage is real. But it's not, Carmen whispered. Nathaniel stood, moving toward her with predatory grace. Then we better start making it look real. My lawyer says we need evidence of a genuine relationship. Shared accounts, witnesses seeing us together, intimacy. Heat flooded Carmen's cheeks. I didn't sign up for that. Neither did I, Nathaniel said, his voice rough. But if we don't convince them, I lose everything. And you'll have to return the money for Sophia's surgery. All of it, with interest. Carmen felt the walls closing in. This wasn't the deal. The deal changed the moment someone betrayed us. Nathaniel's eyes burned into hers. So the question is, how far are you willing to go to save your daughter? Carmen stared at him, trapped between fury and desperation. In the shadows of the study, neither of them saw Victoria standing in the hallway outside, a satisfied smile curving her lips. She had been the one to leak the contract, and she was just getting started. For 3 weeks, Carmen and Nathaniel played their parts with desperate precision. They attended dinners with his business associates, their hands intertwined across white tablecloths. They shared a bedroom, though Nathaniel slept on the leather couch without complaint. They laughed at private jokes they scripted beforehand. To the world, they looked like newlyweds in love. Behind closed doors, the tension was suffocating. The investigator is coming next week, Nathaniel said one morning, not looking up from his coffee. He'll interview us separately. Our stories need to match perfectly. Carmen nodded, exhaustion weighing her down. Sophia was getting stronger every day, which should have brought relief. Instead, Carmen felt herself drowning in guilt and confusion. Because somewhere between the staged photographs and rehearsed conversations, something had shifted. The way Nathaniel's hand lingered on her back when no one was watching. The way she caught him staring at her across rooms, his expression unreadable. The night she'd found him asleep at his desk and covered him with a blanket, and he'd whispered her name in his sleep. Carmen, are you listening? Nathaniel's sharp voice cut through her thoughts. Yes, the investigator. I understand, Nathaniel's eyes narrowed. You've been distracted lately. If you can't handle this, tell me now. I'm fine, Carmen snapped. Maybe I'm just tired of pretending. Pretending is the entire point, is it? The question escaped before Carmen could stop it. Because sometimes it doesn't feel like pretending. Nathaniel went very still. The air between them crackled with something dangerous. Don't, he said, his voice low. Don't make this complicated. It's already complicated, Carmen whispered. Nathaniel stood abruptly, his chair scraping against marble. I have meetings all day. Try not to forget who we really are. After he left, Carmen sat in the empty penthouse, feeling the weight of her platinum wedding ring like a shackle. That evening, Victoria appeared at the penthouse door, all red lipstick and calculated sympathy. Carmen, darling. I hope I'm not intruding. Every instinct screamed danger, but Carmen stepped aside. Nathaniel isn't here. Actually, I came to see you. Victoria glided inside, her heels clicking against marble. I thought you should know the truth before you get hurt. Carmen's stomach twisted. What truth? Victoria pulled out her phone, swiping through photos. Security camera footage. Nathaniel in his office, talking to his lawyer before the wedding. I need someone desperate enough not to ask questions, Nathaniel's voice said through the speaker. The housekeeper is perfect. She'll do anything for her sick kid. Carmen's world tilted. He chose you because you were convenient, Victoria said softly. Because you were vulnerable. He's been manipulating you from the beginning. Get out, Carmen whispered. I'm trying to help you. Nathaniel destroys everyone he touches. He destroyed me. Don't let him destroy you too. After Victoria left, Carmen stood in the empty penthouse, the recorded words playing on repeat in her mind. She thought of every kind gesture, every softening glance. Had it all been calculated? Had she been fool enough to develop real feelings for a man who saw her as nothing more than a convenient solution? When Nathaniel returned that night, Carmen was waiting. Did you choose me because I was desperate? She asked without preamble. Nathaniel froze. What are you talking about? Victoria showed me the security footage. You and your lawyer discussing how perfect I was because I'd do anything for my sick kid. Carmen's voice shook. Was any of it real? Nathaniel's face hardened. Victoria is a liar, then deny it. Tell me you didn't say those exact words. Silence stretched between them like broken glass. I was angry. Nathaniel finally said. I was backed into a corner and I said things I didn't mean. But you did mean them, Carmen said. That's why you can't look at me right now. Nathaniel's jaw clenched. What do you want me to say? That I regret helping your daughter? That I should have let her die to preserve your pride? The words hit like a physical blow. Carmen stepped back, tears burning her eyes. I want you to say that I'm more than a convenient transaction, she whispered. I want you to say that these past weeks meant something. Nathaniel looked at her then, really looked at her, and for a moment, Carmen saw something crack in his expression, something raw and terrified. It doesn't matter what I feel, he said quietly. This was always temporary. Don't make it into something it's not. Carmen pulled off her wedding ring and set it on the marble counter. Then we're done. I'll move out tomorrow. You can't. Nathaniel's voice turned sharp. The investigator is coming in 3 days. If you leave now, we both lose everything. So I'm trapped. We're both trapped, Nathaniel said. The difference is, I was honest about it from the beginning. Carmen turned away, unable to look at him. I'll stay until the investigation is over, but after that, I never want to see you again. Fine. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. That night, Carmen lay in the guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling. Through the walls, she could hear Nathaniel pacing in his study. Neither of them slept, and neither of them knew that Victoria's plan had worked perfectly. She had planted the seed of destruction. Now she just had to wait for it to grow. But what Victoria didn't know was that the security footage she'd shown Carmen had been edited, manipulated. The conversation she'd presented as proof was actually 3 different conversations spliced together, and the person who'd helped her do it was about to demand payment for his silence. The investigator arrived on a gray Tuesday morning. His name was Marcus Webb, and he had the tired eyes of someone who'd heard every lie humanity could offer. Carmen sat across from him in Nathaniel's study, hands folded in her lap, wedding ring conspicuously absent. She'd put it back on that morning, but it felt like wearing chains. Mrs. Hayes, how would you describe your relationship with your husband? Carmen had rehearsed this answer 100 times. Complicated, but real. Real how? The question caught her off guard. Carmen thought of Nathaniel's hand on her back, his voice saying her name in sleep, the way he'd paid for Sophia's surgery before they were even married. He sees me, Carmen said softly. Not just what he wants me to be. He actually sees me, Marcus made a note. And how did you two meet? I was his housekeeper. Carmen met his gaze steadily. I know how it looks, but I fell in love with him anyway. The lie tasted like truth. After Carmen's interview, Nathaniel took his turn. Marcus asked him the same questions, watching for inconsistencies. Why did you marry Carmen Silva? Marcus asked. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. Because she was the only real thing in my life. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. Marcus leaned back. Mr. Hayes, I've investigated hundreds of fraud cases. I know when people are lying, so I'm going to ask you directly. Did you marry Carmen Silva to satisfy your grandfather's inheritance clause? Nathaniel's hands gripped the armrests. Every calculated response vanished. Yes. Marcus blinked, clearly not expecting honesty. But that's not why I'm still married to her. Nathaniel continued, his voice rough. I married her because I was desperate and she needed money. I'm still married to her because somewhere along the way, I stopped being able to imagine my life without her in it. Does she know that? No. Why not? Nathaniel's laugh was bitter. Because I'm a coward who destroys everything he touches. Marcus closed his notebook. I'll have my report ready in 2 days. After Marcus left, Carmen found Nathaniel standing at the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring at the city below. His reflection in the glass looked haunted. What did you tell him? Carmen asked. The truth. Carmen's heart lurched. Which truth? Nathaniel turned, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. All of it. Before Carmen could respond, Nathaniel's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and went pale. What is it? Victoria. She wants to meet. Says she has information about who leaked our contract. Carmen's stomach dropped. It's a trap. Probably. Nathaniel grabbed his coat. But I need to know who's trying to destroy us. Then I'm coming with you. Carmen, no. We're in this together, Carmen said firmly. For better or worse, isn't that what we promised? Something flickered in Nathaniel's expression. Something that looked dangerously close to hope. They met Victoria at an upscale restaurant, all glass and steel and expensive wine. She was waiting in a private room, her smile sharp enough to draw blood. I'm so glad you both could make it, Victoria said. Please sit. What information? Nathaniel demanded. Victoria slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was a video file, security footage from Nathaniel's office, dated the day before the contract was signed. I thought you'd want to see this before it goes public, Victoria said. Carmen pressed play. On the screen, Nathaniel paced his office, talking on the phone. Find me someone desperate, his recorded voice said. Someone who won't ask questions. Someone I can control. Carmen felt her heart shatter. She'd wanted to believe Victoria had edited the footage. But this was different. This was uncut. Undeniable. I also have documentation of every payment, Victoria continued. The surgery costs. The fake honeymoon charges. Everything that proves this marriage is a fraud. What do you want? Nathaniel's voice was dead. I want you to walk away from the inheritance, Victoria said. Publicly admit the marriage was fake. And I want Carmen to disappear from your life forever. Carmen stood abruptly, her chair scraping against polished wood. No, Victoria's eyebrow arched. Excuse me? No, Carmen repeated, her voice stronger. I won't be a weapon you use to destroy him. Even after hearing that? Victoria gestured to the tablet. Even knowing he manipulated you from the beginning? Carmen looked at Nathaniel. His face was a mask, but his hands were shaking. Tell me, Carmen said quietly. Tell me what you were really thinking that day. Nathaniel closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were raw with something that looked like pain. I was angry, he said. Angry at my grandfather for controlling me from the grave. Angry at myself for letting it happen. I said terrible things because I was scared and alone and I didn't know how to ask for help. That's very touching, Victoria said. But it doesn't change the facts. The facts are incomplete, a new voice said from the doorway. Carmen spun around. Marcus Webb stood there holding his own tablet. I'm sorry for the theatrics, Marcus said, walking into the room, but I needed to see how this would play out. He set his tablet on the table, pressing play on a different video file. This one showed Victoria in a dimly lit room, editing security footage on a computer, splicing conversations together, creating false evidence. The original footage tells a very different story, Marcus said. Mr. Hayes was venting to his lawyer about his own failings, not planning to manipulate anyone. The conversation Miss Laurent showed you was fabricated. Victoria went white. That's not possible. I was careful. Not careful enough, Marcus said. Your IT specialist kept backup files. He's been cooperating with my investigation in exchange for immunity. The room went silent. Carmen couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Everything she'd believed for the past 3 days had been a lie. Why? Carmen whispered, looking at Victoria. Why would you do this? Victoria's perfect facade cracked. Because he was supposed to love me. We were supposed to build an empire together. And he threw it all away because I made one mistake. You slept with my business partner, Nathaniel said flatly. That's more than a mistake. And you never forgave me, Victoria snarled. So yes, I wanted to destroy you. I wanted you to feel what I felt. Alone, betrayed. Watching someone else take what should have been yours. I'm calling the police, Marcus said, pulling out his phone. Miss Laurent, you're being charged with fraud, defamation, and attempted extortion. As Marcus made the call, Victoria's mask shattered completely. You think you've won? She said to Nathaniel. You think she'll forgive you? She's only here because you paid her. The moment the money's gone, so is she. Get out, Carmen said, her voice cutting through Victoria's venom. You don't know anything about us. After Victoria was escorted out by building security, Carmen and Nathaniel stood alone in the ruined remains of the meeting. I'm sorry, Nathaniel said, for everything, for the way this started, for letting you believe those lies, for not being honest about how I feel. And how do you feel? Carmen asked. Nathaniel stepped closer, his eyes burning into hers. Terrified, because I fell in love with you somewhere between the contract and the lies, and I have no idea how to do this without destroying everything. Carmen's breath caught. You love me? Desperately, Nathaniel whispered. Painfully, in ways that make no business sense at all. Carmen laughed, the sound breaking through her tears. You're an idiot. I know. I love you too. Nathaniel's eyes widened. What? I love you, Carmen said again. Even though you're emotionally stunted and terrible at communication, and you think everything can be solved with contracts. Nathaniel pulled her close, his hands shaking as they cupped her face. This changes everything. I know. The contract is void. Whatever happens with the inheritance happens. I don't care anymore. Carmen smiled against his lips. What happened to the ruthless businessman? He fell in love with his housekeeper and lost his mind. Their kiss tasted like truth and second chances. In the reflection of the window, neither of them saw Marcus watching with a small smile before quietly leaving the room. But their happiness was short-lived. Because the next morning, Carmen woke to find Nathaniel gone and a letter on his pillow that would change everything. Carmen, by the time you read this, I'll be on a plane to London. Marcus delivered his final report last night. The marriage is considered legitimate, but there's a complication. My grandfather's will had a clause I didn't tell you about. If I contest the inheritance requirements, the entire estate gets liquidated and donated to charity. Nothing remains. But if I walk away voluntarily, you receive a settlement. $5 million. I've chosen to walk away. The board of directors has decided that the scandal around our marriage makes me a liability. They're forcing me out of my own company. I could fight it, but that would take years and cost everything we've built together. You'd be dragged through courts and investigations. Sophia would be exposed to media scrutiny. I can't let that happen, so I'm disappearing. The settlement money will be in your account by the end of the week. It's enough to secure Sophia's future, go back to school, build whatever life you want, far away from me and this mess I created. I love you. That's the only true thing in any of this. But love isn't enough to fix what I've broken. You deserve someone who doesn't come with this much damage. Don't look for me. In. Carmen's hands shook as she read the letter a second time, then a third. Fury and heartbreak warred in her chest. After everything they'd survived, he was just leaving, making decisions for her like she was still his employee? No, Carmen whispered. Then louder, no. She grabbed her phone and called Nathaniel. It went straight to voicemail. You coward, Carmen said into the recording. You absolute coward. You think you get to decide what I deserve? You think you can sacrifice yourself and call it love? She hung up and called Marcus Webb. Mrs. Hayes, Marcus answered. I assume you received Nathaniel's letter. Where is he? I can't tell you that. Marcus, please. There was a long pause. He made me promise not to interfere. He thinks he's protecting you. He's being an idiot, Carmen said. The board can't force him out. Not if I have something to say about it. What are you planning? Carmen looked at her reflection in the penthouse windows. The scared housekeeper was gone. In her place stood someone who'd fought too hard to give up now. I'm planning to save my husband, Carmen said, whether he wants me to or not. 3 days later, Carmen stood outside the Hayes Industries board meeting, wearing the emerald dress from the charity gala and carrying a folder of documents. The security guard tried to stop her, but she pushed past him and slammed open the conference room doors. 12 startled faces turned toward her. At the head of the table sat Nathaniel, looking like he'd aged years and days. When he saw Carmen, something cracked in his expression. Mrs. Hayes, the chairman said coldly. This is a private meeting. Not anymore, Carmen said. She slammed her folder on the table. You want to force Nathaniel out because you think our marriage makes him a liability. But you're wrong. Young lady, you don't understand the complexities of corporate governance. I understand that you're about to make the biggest mistake of your careers, Carmen said. Nathaniel Hayes built this company from nothing. His leadership increased your stock value by 300%. He's the reason you all have the wealth and power you're so desperate to protect. She pulled out the first document. This is a full accounting of every scandal this board has covered up in the past decade. Affairs, fraud, One of you has a gambling problem that cost the company $2 million. Another embezzled funds for a mistress. The room went silent. I know because Nathaniel knows, Carmen continued, and he protected all of you. He cleaned up your messes and never asked for anything in return. So before you destroy him to save your own reputations, remember that he has the power to destroy every single one of you. The chairman's face went purple. Are you threatening us? I'm reminding you of who holds the real power in this room, Carmen said. She turned to Nathaniel. And I'm reminding my husband that he doesn't have to face his battles alone anymore. Nathaniel stood slowly, his eyes locked on Carmen. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you, Carmen said. You should be home with your wife and stepdaughter, planning the life you were too scared to believe you deserved. Carmen, the settlement money. I don't want it, Carmen interrupted. I don't want your guilt or your sacrifice or your noble gesture. I want you, flawed and damaged and terrible at asking for help. I want the man who paid for my daughter's surgery before we were married. I want the man who whispered my name in his sleep. I want you, Nathaniel, all of you. Nathaniel crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled Carmen into his arms. I was trying to protect you. I don't need protection, Carmen whispered against his chest. I need a partner. I don't deserve you. Too bad. You're stuck with me. Behind them, the chairman cleared his throat. Mr. Hayes, perhaps we were hasty. Your personal life is your own business. And Mrs. Hayes makes some compelling points about your value to this company. Nathaniel didn't turn around. I'm taking a leave of absence. 6 months to actually build a life with my wife. When I come back, we'll discuss my role here. But I'm done sacrificing everything for a company that doesn't value loyalty. The chairman nodded stiffly. We'll table this discussion until then. As Carmen and Nathaniel left the building, reporters swarmed them. Cameras flashed. Voices shouted questions. Nathaniel ignored them all. He pulled Carmen close and kissed her in front of the world, making it clear that this marriage was anything but fake. 6 months later, Carmen stood in the penthouse packing boxes. Sophia was helping, her laughter filling rooms that had once felt like a prison. Are you sure about this? Nathaniel asked, watching from the doorway. Positive, Carmen said. This place is beautiful, but it's not a home. It's a showcase. They'd bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, something smaller, warmer, filled with windows and character. Sophia would have a backyard. Carmen would have a studio for the online degree she'd started. Nathaniel would have space to figure out who he was beyond the ruthless businessman. I never thought I'd be afraid of leaving this place, Nathaniel admitted. It was my fortress. Fortresses are lonely, Carmen said, taking his hand. Homes are messy and complicated and full of people who love you anyway. Nathaniel pulled her close. I'm still learning how to do this. The husband thing, the father thing, the being vulnerable thing. Good, Carmen said, because I'm still learning how to let someone take care of me. We'll figure it out together. That evening, they stood in their new home, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and takeout containers. Sophia was asleep upstairs in her new room, having declared it perfect. Do you ever regret it? Nathaniel asked. Signing that contract? Carmen thought about the scared woman who'd signed away 6 months of her life to save her daughter. She thought about the journey from desperation to love, from contract to commitment. Not for a second, Carmen said. You? Nathaniel kissed her softly, his hands cradling her face like she was something precious. Best business decision I ever made. Worst proposal, though, Carmen teased. Give me another chance, Nathaniel said. And before Carmen could respond, he knelt down, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a simple gold band, nothing like the ostentatious platinum ring from their contract wedding. Carmen Silva Hayes, Nathaniel said, his voice thick with emotion. Will you marry me again? No contracts, no clauses, no conditions, just us, building something real. Carmen's tears fell freely. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As Nathaniel slipped the ring on her finger, Carmen realized that sometimes the best love stories begin with the worst circumstances. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what actually matters. Sometimes the person you need isn't the one you were looking for. And sometimes a contract marriage becomes the most real thing in your life. Outside, the Brooklyn night settled around their new home. Inside, a family that began as a business transaction had transformed into something that no contract could ever define. Love, messy and complicated, and absolutely worth fighting for. The end.